Hello, welcome everyone to another episode of Frenchafullcircle. Tonight is our first episode with a set of panelists. Tonight we have all come together to speak and discuss the newly released film Black is King by Beyoncé. And before I begin the show, I just want to express full gratitude to everyone that could be a part of this. I am so excited to have them here. I am fully thankful for each and every one of you for choosing to be a part of this. You all were chosen specifically for a specific reason, and I am so glad to have you all on. Before each show, we like to do a breathing to center moment. So if everyone could just relax, find a comfortable space, and just allow your body to relax. You're sitting your feet firmly on the ground or crossing your legs wherever you are. Relaxing your arms, relaxing your body, and begin to close your eyes. We're going to do 5 inhales and exhales. And with every breath, you want to breathe deeply from your belly, holding it tight. We're going to hold it for 5, and then we're going to exhale for 5. We're breathing in and out through our nose. So we're going to begin and just inhale. Hold it for a set of 5. So 5, 2, 1, and then you're going to exhale through your nose. Inhale. Hold it for 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale. And then you're going to inhale again. Inhaling positive energy. You're telling your mind is telling your body and everything else around you to relax, to calm itself. You're going to hold it for 5, and then again, you're going to exhale through your nose. On this next inhale, just think of all the tension. Go to any place in your body that may be experiencing tension right now. Just allow your breath to release that for you, wherever that may be in your body. And on this last inhale and exhale, we're going to inhale through our nose, and then we're going to let go a big exhale through our mouth, and we're just going to, so we're going to inhale. Make this one count. Remember to breathe deeply from your belly, the diaphragm of your belly, holding it for 5. And then we're just going to exhale with a big. Okay, and just like that, we start the show. I am joined by people that are dear friends to me. I can remember when I met each and every one of you. Danielle, I remember meeting you in kindergarten. And then Aaron, I remember meeting you. I think it was sophomore year. I had just transferred to Kenwood, and we had gym together. That's the first time I met you. I am just grateful for you beautiful souls to come on tonight. I guess I should specify each reason why I picked everyone to join. All are artists, and I feel like to best critique certain things, you have to have an artist's eye, and that's what I love about each and every one of you. Isaac was chosen because I know he loves Beyoncé. I just love how he loves Beyoncé. I'm pretty sure he loves Beyoncé as much as the rest of us. So yeah, I wanted him to be in this. Ifeanyi, you are a musician, and I feel it was best to bring on a musician to critique the musical aspect, the cultural aspect, because you do sing, and you do bring a lot of your culture into your music as well. So I thought it was very important to bring you on. And then Pashan, my girl, Passion for Fashion. I remember in high school she had I think you were doing your magazine that you were doing in your high school. And I remember, like, aesthetically, it was something about it was very aesthetically pleasing, and I just felt like you had that eye and that vision, and you could see certain things that not everybody is paying attention to. And you also bring a culture with you as well that you carry with you. Aaron, I know you do filmography and you are well in depth with that field, and you have that artistic eye. And so I was like, let me reach out to him so he could be a part of this. And then Danielle, as long as I've known you, you have been dancing so for forever. And yeah, I just brought you on to speak to the technicality and the choreography and the symbolisms with that as well. And so enough talking from me. If everyone could just introduce themselves, tell the people who you are, what you do, what you have planned. So yeah.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Isaac. I'm 22 years old. I just graduated from college, and I'm on my way now to grad school to get my master's in higher education. Yeah, and I love Beyoncé, and I'm here.
And where did you graduate from, if you could just tell the people?
Yes, I graduated from Illinois State University, got my Bachelor of Arts in Organizational Leadership Communications, and I got a concentration in queer studies.
And then we'll move to Ifeanyi.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ifeanyi Elswith. I'm 22 as well. I'm an artist, a music artist. So if you want to check out my music, you definitely should. And yeah, I'm here because I also love Beyoncé. I wouldn't say I'm part of the Beehive, but she definitely inspires me as a Black singer. So I love her.
Pashan, if you want to just introduce yourself. So yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Pashan, of course. I just graduated from DePaul University and had studied communications and media with emphasis in politics and film. A lot of my focus in those areas with politics was Black liberation and learning about the Black diaspora. And then now I'm just continuing on with my education. I'm gonna go to law school. So yeah, that's a little snippet.
I'm Aaron. I'm originally from Chicago. That's where I started my journey of filmmaking and involvement with the arts in general. But I recently graduated from Florida State's College of Motion Picture Arts, where I really, thank you. But that's where I really honed in on my skills as a filmmaker. I specialized in directing, so right now I'm a writer-director, and I focus my stories on exploring the spectrum of Black masculinity. So that's honestly why this film was super important for me. As a gay man who's always felt normal, but I had a lot of questions about why my personality always deemed me as gay, and no one can answer those questions. So that's why I kind of decided to make work that explores that and challenges that idea of masculinity. And in school is where all of this became super real for me, not only just with my profession, but also my spiritual experience. I experienced a lot of challenges going to a PWI, including a whole identity crisis. And Beyoncé was just such a big part of what got me through that. So I'm not gonna get too into that, but right now I am in Atlanta, Georgia. I just moved a couple of weeks ago, and I'm starting my career. So ultimately I'm a director, but I definitely want to explore music videos and visual albums and theater and some involvement, because I did some fashion modeling in high school as well. So I want to explore kind of incorporating filmmaking into that field as well. So yeah, that's the gist of me.
My name is Danielle. A lot of people know me as Danny. I prefer Danny. I've known Sean since kindergarten, and like you said, I have been dancing for just as long as he's known me, since I was 4 years old. Beyoncé was definitely a big inspiration and motivation in my dance career. And it's actually pretty interesting because I'm getting more and more into film nowadays. I went to school my first year when I was in school for dance. And then I left school to kind of reestablish myself and really figure out what it is that I want to do with myself and career-wise and spiritually wise. And I started to really get into film, and now I'm getting really back into dance, like hardcore. So I'm really interested in seeing how I can incorporate those two into my career and in my life. And this film actually really inspired me. So yeah.
I love it. I'm so immensely proud of each and every one of you, because I see everybody doing their thing, making the strides that they need to happen. But also I see everyone as well being of service with the gifts and the talents and the knowledge that you all have. So I am just, like I said, I am immensely grateful for each and every one of you. Just with that, we will just delve into the show. So if everyone could give their initial thoughts to when you guys first saw Black is King, what were your initial thoughts, emotions, reactions to seeing everything take place? And did it meet any expectations that you had for it? And it doesn't matter who starts, anyone can start. So yeah.
My initial reaction, I was like, wow, she looks really good. I was just seeing all the outfits, and I was just trying to because I had my food and I had everything. So I was just looking, I said, oh my gosh, she looked real good. And I was trying to kind of pick up on stuff. I didn't really pick up on stuff the second watch, the first watch. It was just okay, let me see what's going on, what direction she is in. And I really just thought it was just really beautiful. I just love how images of how Black people and how it looked, and the words, some of the messages that she was saying. I was oh, this is really beautiful. That was my first thing. I was this is it's amazing cinematography. This is really great. This is a budget. This they took their time. That was just my first initial reaction. That was just my first initial reaction when I saw everything.
My initial reaction was, I love the symbolism. It was some heavy symbolism. I agree with Isaac. I think she looked amazing. I feel like every outfit had a significant meaning. I wasn't able to pick apart I wasn't able to completely analyze and go into what I thought every outfit meant, but yeah, I just feel I feel like anytime you watch any visual by Beyoncé, everything is intentional. So I feel like you can see the intention in every single scene. And I also just kind of loved how she took on her own version of the Lion King. And I feel like she was kind of taking on the perspective of Mufasa, which is why she went with Black is King instead of saying Black is Queen, or yeah. So I just thought that was really cool, because that's a great alternative to the Lion King. Say if you don't want to have your kid watch the Lion King, which I don't know why anyone wouldn't want to, but if you just wanted to keep it Black and not really into what Disney is doing, you could definitely just show your child Black is King and
get an understanding of the story.
Yeah, right.
Initially, I was nervous. I was really nervous, mainly because it was a couple weeks before Black is King that was released, that it wasn't nothing big on social media, but she got a little bit of backlash over some old stuff for pretty much having blackface, and then also just how they felt like she didn't really appreciate. It was like more of a cultural appropriation. So it was some backlash that she'd recently had received over something Pan-African related. Whereas like this time I was just like, okay, I'm gonna have an open mind because I love Beyonce. Let me see what she does here. So I was like watching it like, okay, let me see what she does first before I actually critique it. So I was nervous at first, but I did love the visuals. I felt like they were very beautiful. She was beautiful. I knew she was gonna kill it with the visuals because she always does. Always does. The symbolism was nice. The fact that it was The Lion King told in a different way was also beautiful because I loved The Lion King growing up. So I felt connected to, my childhood of growing up watching The Lion King, growing up with Beyonce, and then seeing this beautiful visual she just released. So I was really appreciative of that. Of course, I had like my own mixed review to it at the end, but I loved everything and I appreciated what she gave.
As far as expectations are concerned, I kind of never hold expectations when it comes to Beyonce. Because this is like you expect her to deliver. That's all. You expect her to deliver, and honestly, that's what she did. She definitely she delivered in the way that she could, in the way that she can conceptualize it, and through her own experience, if that makes sense. Yeah.
No, I feel like I'm a little biased when it comes to her work because just like you said, you're always like whatever she makes, like you're expecting it to be, the standard of Beyonce, like
exactly.
And in a strange way, like when I saw the trailer, I felt like I knew exactly what she was gonna do.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm a dreamer, okay? I receive a lot of like messages and visions when I sleep. And since the beginning of the pandemic, I started having like extremely vivid dreams with her. And like I went through a whole college was an entire spiritual journey for me, but like in the past few months, there were like various versions of her like coming through my dreams, like telling me certain things about my life and like how I've been like trapped and how I have to like find my way out. And the album itself definitely was like a big part of that. It impacted me heavily. But when she dropped the trailer, like a part of me knew exactly what was coming. And I was so like just excited for whatever she had to make, So it definitely like met my expectations, or whatever my expectations were. Like I was definitely still like jaw to the floor at everything.
Shout it out.
So like when I watched it, like it was like what I like hoped it would be, but it was also like, the idea of, that whole story about the young like boy becoming a man. Like it just felt like everything that we needed right now, and like you said, it was done very much in like her Beyonce way. And I definitely didn't expect her to like solve all of the world's problems or have an answer to everything, but like for what she could accomplish, I totally agree, Danny, that like she did very, very well. Yeah,
I loved it. Because for me, I'm critiquing everything, so I have to watch it a few times. But just initially, like you guys were saying, the symbolism was like, it was right in your face, and that's what I love about. That was one of the main things that I loved about Black is King, especially growing up as a child who practices Yoruba. And you go to these celebrations and you go to like you go to like events for certain orishas, and just to see these symbolisms put right in your face, and for mainstream culture, I thoroughly, my heart was filled with joy. For me, it hit me on a deeper level, just because I want, one of my missions in life is to get everyone to connect back to their African spirituality, at least for young Black people, is to connect back to their African spirituality and know that there are things native to us that have always been there to serve and help us and make us get to our best potential. And so I just love that she was able to bring African culture and bring African spirituality to the forefront for like mass media consumption. And then also it's just a testament to who Beyoncé is. Not even just Beyoncé and Solange, they are, like Ifeanyi said, they are very intentional with every thing, musically, visually, that they do. When you watch or listen to their music, you can tell that they are avid students to their craft, and they do the research, and they have a way of blending history in the present and blending it into their music and for everyone to connect to. Even with Solange's When I Get Home, I was telling everyone on the last episode that we did, like, I love that she brought Southern Texas culture to the forefront for everyone to see, because like most of my mother's family is from Dallas, and so when you go to Dallas, you naturally see stuff like that just out in the broad daylight. So, but even with Beyonce on, what's the song with Jay-Z where she's singing the chorus and the hymns and taking that from the Clark sisters, or even with Solange.
But on Jay-Z's 444 album?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The Family Feud? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's the song. Taking their song and for everyone to connect to, and even with Solange, taking the poem that Felicia Rashad and Debbie Allen did, and putting it on When I Get Home and connecting that to, the theme of the album. I just love that they are, I just love the dedication that they have to their craft. And I love that Beyonce wasn't afraid to, she wasn't afraid to go there with this project. Seems like within the past couple of years, she's growing more into telling, not just making songs, but telling stories through bodies of work. That's what I like about Beyonce and Solange. They're going to give you, you can listen and you can almost imagine and feel the story playing out in your head. And so I just like that. And then just to hear the backstory from their mom about how Beyonce came up with the idea of Black is King, and how her main mission was to empower people, but also give credit to the original creator of The Lion King, who was a Black African man, and Disney never gave him the credit he deserved back in that time. And so for her to do her research and create the visuals and take her time and give us what we now know as Black is King, I am I was thoroughly proud to see something like that on the screen, because we didn't, especially for me growing up, we didn't get a lot of visuals of Black and African people in places of royalty and power. I think we're just recently getting that, as far as like with Black Panther and other movies and such like that. But I thoroughly enjoyed every bit of it, from fashion to music to story. Overall, it was amazing. Moving into the next question, my next question would be, when you hear the title Black is King, what does that mean to you?
Well, for me, especially after watching I think I agree that Black people are sort of the source of everything that the world has come to be. We are the creators, we are the innovators, we are the strength, the love. Like, everything that we bring into the world is what the world adapts into. So it's like the world would be, it's like, what would the world be without Black people? I'm not gonna say it would be nothing, it would be something, but it wouldn't be what it is now,
Mm-hmm.
And like, also after watching the film a couple of times, I don't think that it's saying like, because I received some feedback and just like having discussions with peers, where they felt like, like Black is King is saying like, all Black people come from like a royal lineage, but I don't think that's what she's trying to say. Like, yes, there is royalty within the Black diaspora, but it's not saying that all Black people come from someone who was a king or a queen. It's saying that all Black people have the potential to be kings and queens. You have the potential to, take your life in whatever direction that you want for your life, like, and you can't let anyone else take that away from you. And they even said it like in the film, where like a king is someone who takes care of their family, takes care of their responsibilities, and does what they need to do, so aside from the fact of like, Black people, are the driving force of creativity in the world, you also have the potential to build your life up. You have the potential to be the king of your own life, regardless of what the world tells you should be, and so that's how I feel when I read the title. It's like, Black people can be kings. Black people can be kings, yeah.
I was gonna pretty much say the same thing. Like, I was gonna mention how a lot of my peers as well, and I saw a lot on like social media, how people were talking about how she's only talking about the percentage, the very small percentage of Africans who came from royalty and riches or whatnot. But that's definitely not true. I'm not gonna say it's not true. I'm not gonna say it's not true. It's not for me to. I don't interpret it that way. It's basically what I'm saying. I definitely don't interpret it that way. I completely agree with Aaron.
For me, it means to me that like we're the original, like, because we're the original people. Like, everybody came from us. So that's what I think. I also, I don't know if this is a bad thing, but it makes me think that, we're ultimately superior, because I feel like that's kind of the vibe that phrase gives me. So yeah, that's how I feel.
I really do feel what you just said as far as us being the original, because I don't think we put enough emphasis in ourselves that we are like we don't talk about that. They don't want us to talk about that we are the very first people. And even though we come from the diaspora, and the diaspora is a little bit diluted, because that's what they be talking about, how it's a little bit diluted, but for the majority of our ancestry, we are the original people. A lot of people, the whole world, you know, wouldn't be what it was without Black African people in Africa. So I feel like it's kind of emphasized a little bit in the film, but it still doesn't get enough credit for it. Like people, especially people within the Black diaspora, I feel like they're still not showing enough appreciation to that in itself. You know, more than just the visuals and how great Beyoncé is.
I really do like what you said about like being the original, because, you know, like going off of like what said like that, you know, really like what it is, and there's a lot of things that comes from us, and then it's just like so much of the time like just growing up and like seeing like our history be so whitewashed to make us feel like that is not the case, or to make it show us these images that are created by all these white creators and directors and white writers to kind of put an image around our culture and like where we come from, make it look like it's bad, and it's not that. And so like when the first thing I thought, like when I like saw like Black is King, like I just thought like regal, like beautiful, rich, and like those were like some of the words that I took from like the title and kind of like what was seen within the film, and kind of how too I like how the film kind of defines king, like some criticisms and like with the king word, and like thinking like, you know, what like a regular king in like England. And I kind of liked how she the definition when she was like talking about Black is king, and it's kind of like being the king of like your life, and like making sure like you're grounded, and making sure that you're good, and not like a ruler and someone that's a dictator. And so yeah, that was my initial when I saw the title.
I agree with everyone, and I just wanted to touch on Passion's point of, like she said, there is not enough emphasis on, if you could say for me one more time, there's not enough emphasis on
us, like what was said, like us being original people and the creators. And it's not to, you know, put like a superior complex over everyone else. It's just to say like, you know, I mean, you're kind of a mutation of us in a way. Like that's literally like the biology and everything, like it comes back to us, and it's always came back to us. And, you know, just to reiterate, like it has been whitewashed, like Isaac said, and because I also feel like because like Isaac brought up the titles being placed on Black people, worldwide Black people, you know, no matter where they come from, it's a title put on them that's anti-Black. And because of that, we don't give ourselves enough credit for who we are, and we don't embrace who we are. I think we become used to that title that is given to us and emotionally attached to that title, that we aren't, you know, it builds like a self-esteem. Like there is they call it like the generational self-esteem, that curse in your self-esteem, where you think kind of low of yourself, and it could be subconsciously because of the oppression against Black people. So I feel like there's not a lot of emphasis in that, and there still wasn't after the film was made. Yes, there was appreciation for Beyoncé and the visuals, but that still wasn't brought up.
And that would be one of my critiques for the film, is that I don't want it to, and I'm glad you touched on it. I'm glad you touched on that idea that, cause like I saw it too, that even after watching the film, there was still so much emphasis on, oh, Beyonce did this, or Beyonce is wearing this. But I'm like, there is something more to this film than just Beyonce. There are the artists that were featured on it. There's the story itself. The symbolism as well. Like, I would hope that people look at this film beyond it's Beyonce and look at the messages that she is trying to portray to everyone. Our next question: who do you think the film speaks to? And I want to pose that question as well. Can a body of art, is it possible for a body of art to, I guess, exist without the artist being so heavily as the face of it, if that makes sense? Because and part of me kind of wishes that Beyonce wasn't so much in the film, that she made like smaller appearances and just really let the beauty and the art of the Lion King story and African people be told without it being so much, oh, it's Beyonce. Let's look at Beyonce and see what she's wearing and what she can do.
I see how it could be difficult to separate Beyonce from anything that she makes, but I don't know, it's really interesting to hear that, because like while watching it, I didn't make it about her at all. Like, you don't really, like, you can definitely watch it independent of her and you can see how she wasn't making it about herself at all. Like, I mean, there was a part of her that's like, I'm rich, bitch, like, and you can't tell me shit, you know? But like, you could tell that her intention was definitely bigger than herself. You know, I think people who really only focus on like what she was doing definitely missed the whole point of the project. Because it wasn't for her. She was doing it literally for everyone else.
She also did bring and collab with so many artists who are from Africa, and she provided them with an opportunity that will probably lead them to other opportunities. So yeah, it can definitely be a weird thing, because just as much as she's glorifying and glamorizing the small percent of Africans that were royal, she's also still bringing in a lot of opportunities and a lot of attention to African workers, so that they can get a chance and, you know, have their come up just like she is having hers.
I noticed that too, like even like with the praise and critiques, I felt like it was just all Beyonce centered, and like I really enjoyed the movie, but I really enjoyed the movie because of the message, and I was watching several times because of the message, and I was trying to like see like the things like past Beyonce. Like first initial like glance, I was like, oh, okay, Beyonce looks nice, but like when I was like starting to analyze the movie, it's something bigger there. It's something bigger than Beyonce. I think honestly, like the movie, I think it speaks to like just Black people in general, and I feel like it's like finding like the song like Find Your Way Back, like that's just like, I feel like that is like the theme of that thing, kind of knowing where you come from, and like, because I feel like, you know, in this world, and I feel like the movie also came in a great place of my life right now, but like in this world you kind of get pushed into life and there's no book about it, and it's going to be ups and downs, and especially for Black people, our lives are going to be a bit harder because of America being rooted in anti-Blackness. And so I think it just speaks to us, and just like finding yourself, knowing that life is going to give you a lot of things, and learning how to use those things that life give you and navigate through those things to get to where you want to get to. And so I just feel like that's what I think. I think it was just like speaking to Black people in general, and just like, you know, find your way back. You know, this world is gonna be scary. It's gonna not always go your way, but you got it. Remember where you come from. Remember your foundation, and you know, keep on pushing.
Okay, so for the first question, who do you think it speaks to? I definitely feel like it's for all of us. It's just for all Black people. I feel like a lot of us are, a lot of us experience a lot of trauma, of course, because, we're oppressed. And it is also for children too, like Black children. Just like I feel like it's her reminding Black children that they are a gift, and that, that they really, I think she's trying to speak power and life into Black children, because I feel like at least our generation growing up, like I didn't really see many Black films that really just like spoke life into me into my soul as a child, if that makes sense. I feel like there are the Black movies we love, like Crooklyn and Friday and all of that, but I feel like those like really explain like just how we're living already. I feel like Black is King shows children like what they can have, what they can get to, that we are royalty and you can be wealthy, you can have all of these things. I don't remember a film that taught me that as a child. So definitely Black children and just Black people in general. And then can you have a body of art without the artist like being the main focus of it? I feel like that's kind of tough. I feel like maybe it's hard for Beyoncé because it's Beyoncé, but I think if there were any other artists in the industry that put together a body of work that was really supposed to represent the people and not themselves, it might have been a little easier, but their name is always going to be attached to it. So I feel like because they created it and it was their work, like it was their idea from the start, like their name will always be attached to it. I feel like in order for their name to not be attached to it, like it would have had to have been way more artists on the project, So yeah, that's my take on it.
I feel like for the first question, I honestly feel like it wasn't for all Black people. And that's because like looking at the visuals, the location, I feel like it was mainly for the people within the Black diaspora, of the Atlantic diaspora. So like everyone who's a part of the Atlantic slave trade. So, North America, South America, Central America, all right there. Because that's where Beyonce's from. And usually when you talk about Pan-Africanism, you talk about everyone within that region of the world. And when looking at the film, she was primarily in West Africa, and in one location, like she also had some South African references in there. But East Africa and North Africa was really left out. Like for the most part, there was some symbolism. Like for example, during the song Denial, she like paid homage to an ancient Egyptian ritual, and how there was also like with the horns that also was similar to the Mercy tribe in East Africa and Ethiopia. And so it's just that, but really like a lot of East Africans, a lot of North Africans felt left out within the film because it was so much attention towards the Western region of Africa and even some Central Africans. So it was just, I don't feel like some Africans, I think they were confused as to thinking the film Black is King was, for Africans in general, until they saw the visuals. And then that's when I like realized when I was with the Lion King story and also, her being Beyonce, her being in it, like it felt like it was something for people within the Black diaspora, that Pan-Africanism. So that's what I think, what it was mostly geared to, who it was mostly geared to. As far as the second question, whether an artist, like, it depends on the artist, honestly. And it's Beyonce. So Beyonce, she's her own brand. Everything she does, people just think Beyonce, you know, she's just Beyonce. So it's like, it's really hard to, you know, not want her in it. Like, everyone just loves to look at her and see her do what she's a performer. She's an entertainer herself. So it's not mainly the work she does, it's her that makes her who she is, that makes her the star. So compared to like another artist where the actual work they do, you know, people like the work they do, they don't really care much for the artist, they care more for the work, is different with her.
I can see both points. I can see how it speaks to, I wouldn't say the word impressionable, but it's easy. If you're a child and if you're a Black child and you saw this movie, there's at least for me, growing up seeing images of young Black people on television, there's a sense of power in that, but there's a sense of connection that what I'm experiencing, I'm not alone, that there are people who look like me who experience or connect to what I'm going through. I like that you made that point, that it's speaking more towards a pan-African set of people. But I also like the idea that it shows, because at least growing up in high school and stuff like that, the only connection to Pan-Africanism that we are taught is through the slave trade. And so to show, I like the idea that she was showing a empowering depiction of Black African people in royalty.
And that's why I feel like No Name's comment was also counterproductive, because awakening, especially the young mind, to who you really are is a process, and it has to start from somewhere, and it can't just start from No Name just saying, hey guys, like, capitalism doesn't matter and we need to give up capitalism, especially if that's the system that we've been living by for all of our lives. Like, it has the encouragement, basically the encouragement and the motivation has to start from somewhere. And if we're being completely honest, the visual that Beyonce provided was a really good start. Was a really good start. Like, it quite literally gives you a visual a visual of it gives you a visual of the type of mindset in life that you should live by to start. And then once you have that mindset, once you can be like, okay, wow, I am royal. You know, I do come from greatness. I can strive for so much more. I am more than a labor worker. Then it goes into everything that I feel like No Name is trying to accomplish. You know what I mean? Like, it's a process. Right. And if anything, she should accept the role that Beyonce is playing in this process and accept the role that she's playing in this process as well.
Yeah, honestly, my response to that was just like, well, if you see, you know, gaps in this storyline, then do your part to fill it. You know.
We have kind of like reclaimed that power of like what the word means to us and who we are. I feel like that's kind of like what she did in this film. It's like we're taking the power back. We took the power back of you showing us who we are. So let me take where I'm from, and show and depict us in the light that we should be depicted in. So that leads us into our next question. I'm glad that Ifeanyi have brought it up. Was that so back around when the film was released, No Name was under a lot of fire for her critique of the film. In her tweet, she said, "We love an African aesthetic draped in capitalism. Hope we remember the Black folks on the continent whose daily lives are impacted by U.S. imperialism. If we can uplift the imagery, I hope we can uplift those who will never be able to access it. Black liberation is a global struggle." And from that, there have been a lot of, even before the film was released, and when the trailer was just released itself, I saw a lot of people saying, oh, like, why are we continuing this, what people like to say, the Wakanda aesthetic? Why are we continuing to show that to our people? Like, I don't need celebrity to show me how, basically show me how great I am. And even though I agree with that, but there aren't a lot of people who, there aren't a lot of Black people who just know how great they are. And so to see a visual of that, for me, is just of high importance. And so I guess my question would be, is something like the Black Royal African visual aesthetic experience, should something like that be shown more? And what do you all think is the importance of showing that to people? Because I am glad that we are moving out of visuals of what Black people normally win awards for, either being crooked cops, being prostitutes, being slaves, being maids, and really showing Black people in royal, financial, basically showing Black people in power. Is the Royal African Black experience, should that be shown more in visuals to people of color, young Black people? Should that be shown more? And a follow-up to that is, what do you think the importance of that is? What do you think the symbolism and the message behind that is, and why we are seeing more images like this?
It's definitely important to show these images because representation definitely matters. And if the only representation that we have is slavery, then that will definitely affect especially the youth in their primitive years and how they view themselves in their community. So it definitely matters. I believe when I first read the tweet, I thought to myself, No Name isn't wrong, but Beyoncé is not wrong either. No Name is right, and Beyoncé is just as right. Duality exists, and I feel like duality definitely exists. And I feel like in this situation, specifically in this time, during this pandemic, where racism has been alive for a long time, and the struggle that we've experienced has been alive for a long time. But in 2020, it's just hitting us in a much harder and different way. We needed this film. I don't care what anybody says. We needed this film, and it was almost as if she was trying to take this. I don't want to say she was trying to take this away from us, but it was almost as if she was just like discrediting and damn near take away the one thing that was giving us hope, that was giving us faith that our lives do matter. And not only do our lives do matter, but it matters like at a very grand scale, which goes back to the title that Black is King. Black people are the source. If anything, all Black people are connected directly to the source.
I actually had seen some commentary on that. There was this one, I believe it was with Elle magazine, this one commentary where it was just pretty much, it can be problematic in a way I feel like there's a pro and a con to it. So I understood where she was coming from, the editor. She was pretty much explaining how, you know, royalty, you're not going to find that a lot in the whole continent of Africa. Like, as far as in different countries, yes, there is Black royalty, but a lot of Black African people don't fall under royalty. They're not living within royalty. So I understood her perspective when she brought that up, is it can come off as problematic because it covers the actual issues that are going on. It kind of glamorizes it in a way, glamorizes Black Africans and some tribes in a way, when they're not understanding that there's different issues within different cultures, and there's people within all groups of people. You have those in power and you have those who aren't. And even within countries that are predominantly Black, you have those in power and those who aren't, and who leech off of those who don't have power to obtain that power or to maintain that power. So I understood that perspective, as far as where it can be, it can overshadow actual issues that are going on, and it kind of continues to glamorize, because Pan-Africanism can some way glamorize the whole idea of being of African descent, and without actually knowing or learning, taking the time to know or learn about different tribes, different ethnic groups, and what's actually going on in different nations, without even knowing the nations that are there. And then it can be a pro, because in a way, like, I found it to be symbolic. Like, it was just symbolic. Black is king. And for little kids, Black little girls and boys, or non-gender, it really can help build self-esteem with their Blackness. And so that's the pro of it, is that, you know, there's a beauty within Blackness, and then also build self-esteem to help to make you feel like you're confident in whatever you do, and not have carry doubt with you the rest of your life because of you're Black. So there's a pro and a con to it. So I can see both perspectives when it comes to that Black loyalty.
I totally feel that. You definitely just made me rethink that, because before, like, I was gonna say, like, yes, we should, because I just feel like there aren't enough images of Black people being in royalty. And also, and I guess my experience and my knowledge of African people and their culture, I never really bought into what America tried to portray of Africa. I always thought that they weren't portraying, you know, what Africa actually is. And I'm specifically thinking of Nigeria, but I just have always known them to, like, be rich and, you know, have all these great things. I don't know, I guess it's just my family watches a lot of, like, African film, so that may be where that comes from. But yeah, I definitely agree that Pan-Africanism can glamorize the fact of people descending from African people. But I do feel like we should show more just Black people in royalty, because it's just we don't see that at all. So even if it's not, like, all the way true, like, I just feel like it just feeds into the pro of what you said. You know, Black children need to see that. They need to see that that they're empowered and that they're a gift to the world. And I just feel like I would rather the industry show images of Black people in royalty rather than Black people as servants, because we're so used to that. Or even if it's not royalty, like, how about just, you know, the regular life of Black people, you know, especially wealthy Black people. Like, why not just, sorry, I'm stumbling over my words, but why not show more of us not in struggle? Like, I feel like struggle is always like the main theme of our stories. It's always us overcoming a struggle. It's always us overcoming, the world against us. But I feel like, yeah, we should definitely have more content that shows that, we have the world on our side, even if that's really not the truth. But I mean, we have so many stories of white people and Latin people and all these other people where struggle is not the main theme for them. It's not a normal thing for those stories to come from struggle. It's just like, it's a regular life. It's a regular challenge that they may be overcoming in the plot, in the storyline. So I feel like showing Black people in royalty, I just feel like it's better for our community. It's better for the future of our community, whether it's real or not, because a lot of stories are fiction. So, I forgot what the second question was, but yeah, that is my take.
I also saw like some of the critiques about why that portrayal of like just royalty is like, why that would be like bad and why that could be harmful. And but I do feel like, these type of movies are good because I feel like we're not used to like growing up and seeing our people like on like a pedestal. I think that's like the words I'm trying to use, like a pedestal, or like beautifully, or like portrayed in a light that isn't bad. And so, because like I can't really think of a film like growing up that I had that was like Black is King. And because I even think about like Lion King and how Disney most likely did the animal thing because it was easy to sell when having a movie about Africa and making it about animals instead of making it like with Black people, because like who would go out and see that like from that like narrative. And so I do think like the visuals that we've seen have, and I feel like that's important. Like it's important for us to see like stuff like that. Because I feel like, especially like with Black is King, I do feel like there was a lot of intention that went behind it from the creators behind the scenes, in front of the camera, like writers. There was a lot of intention, and so it's like I also understand like why that could be harmful, and like. And like, we don't always have to see these stories, and we know our worth, and all these people don't have to keep telling us that. But I do feel like it's just knowing that how conditioned we are, some of that, like, it's like, so how accurate is like knowing our full worth? Like, how accurate is that from like the images that we're seeing? And so I do think seeing those images are good, because it just, like, it was really beautiful. And it was just like, it was telling the story of Lion King, but like with Black people. And it was just really beautiful seeing that type of light and seeing that type of story, seeing that type of message, and not really like, oh, okay, like someone is struggling or someone is going through stuff. It was just showing the beauty of Blackness. And I don't think we get that visual a lot. Because I don't know, I feel like, especially during this time, a lot of people have definitely, what I can see, like, been educating themselves and been taking this time with everything going on with like Black Lives Matter and the pandemic, and really educating themselves on different things and realizing some stuff that I've seen, like just like based off some of the critiques that I've seen. And so, because I know also I saw some like people saying like how that plays into respectability politics, and like having to feel like, we're good, and so they should treat us like such. And I don't know, I just think that, images like that are great to see. And, I don't feel like we have too many of those films. I could see if it was like okay, it's the same narrative. I don't think it's there yet. When it's like, okay, this is the same narrative, let's talk about something else. And I also don't, and I think it was like showing royalty, but it was showing it in a different way. Just from like the words she was saying and how she was, I think Passion said it, like Black is King, like it's kind of like symbolism. It's not, not really referring to like what people think of king, as you can, like how I interpreted from the film and like things she was saying when she was using the word king and what other people were saying. So I think it's good for people to see that, but I also see why it can be harmful.
Of ourselves as that we are only meant to show struggle.
Exactly. I completely agree. It's just like we know that story all too well, seeing Black people struggling all over the world. Like we know that that's a thing. So it was really refreshing to see a perspective of like Black people can also be rich, they can be wealthy, they can, be royalty and be able to provide for their people, so that was really, really refreshing. And so that's why there are also complaints about like, they're in Africa, but they're not showing like the truth of what people are going through in the continent. And it's like, well, I think there are two sides to it. It's like, we know that people are struggling in Africa because of colonialism, imperialism, what was done to them, right? But there are also civilizations and communities in Africa that are thriving right now. I think there's both ends of the spectrum that we don't really get to see. And I wouldn't totally put it on Beyonce and Jay-Z to like represent, the entire spectrum of Black wealth or African wealth, but being able to see two people who are really royalty in that setting was very inspiring and refreshing to say like, we are more than what we've been told we could be, and let's represent who we once were and who we can be in the future.
For me, I feel that not necessarily like it's a why can't we be seen or show or create pieces of art that show us in power and royalty, because for so long we've seen mainly white people, they get to tell their story of power, royalty, triumph, strength, and boldness or whatever. So it's a why can't we do the same without feeling that we want other people of certain cultures to respect us. But I think it pushes this power in us that I don't need you to respect me, but my respect is automatically me as a person. I am to be treated as if I am someone of importance. I am someone who matters to this world. I could be truly me without you feeling less than that. And I also feel that not necessarily, like Ifeanyi said, not necessarily that we need more images of people in power, but we need more images of people just being Black. Like how we did in the 90s. You had so many shows of, they weren't necessarily showing or pushing this idea or showing how Black people live, but they just show people just being naturally Black, creative, entrepreneurial, whimsical, talented, magical people. So I feel that we need more of that, especially for young Black people. because not too many of us, at least now, I can't say for me, but not too many. You speak to, I guess for me, my mission now, having the knowledge that I do have and seeing the film, it's my duty as a Black person to speak for my ancestors and the people that came before me, and to spread that knowledge and that history and that culture to the younger generation. Because you go and you speak to someone, it's just so weird, like going out into the community and you speak to certain young people, and they just don't, the schools that they went to, or they just haven't really taught them that history, besides Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, and a few of the other main known names of the Black history movement. Yeah, I guess that's where I would want us to go, especially if you have the knowledge and you have the ability to share it, be able to present to young people that there is more to the Black experience than just growing up to be a rapper, growing up to be a football player. I'm not saying that there's nothing wrong with that, but there is more to than just the main things that we are known for. Being a drug dealer, selling your body, really showing young Black people that you have the power and the ability to create the life that you want. Yeah, I guess my mission would be for people with knowledge to be of service to the younger generation, because they're gonna soon follow up after us, and they're gonna take the mantle to push the history that we all are a part of and creating. So that would be my. That's why I feel like more stuff is needed like this. And I also felt that I feel like sometimes when I was seeing the messages of people saying, oh, we don't need another Wakanda archetype, or we don't need another film about Black royalty, I feel like sometimes when you say that, it can be counterproductive in a way, if that makes sense. Like I can see the positives and the negatives of this, but sometimes I feel that it's just counteractive to sometimes the strides that we have made. I guess my next question would be, because I feel like there's like this disconnect between Africans and Black people in America. Because you either have Africans who think less of Americans, or you have Black Americans who grew up seeing this image of African people. Do you think that something like this could push Black Americans away from getting connected to their Africanness? Because even now, I feel like there needs to be a follow-up after this, kind of showing and explaining the symbolisms behind that were in the film. Because a lot of us are still connected to this westernized idea of being Black, and not enough of us see or have that connection to that Pan-Africanism. Do you feel like a film like this would push a Black American away from learning their connecting to their Pan-Africanness or their true Africanness, because sometimes they can feel that they are so different when there actually are commonalities amongst them.
Okay, so I was gonna say, I feel like it didn't really do anything because, I mean, we already talked about how, you know, Beyoncé pretty much overshadowed the message with her, Beyoncé herself. And like, just from what I saw on Twitter, like responses, it's like there was something like, I think this is when Cardi B and Megan dropped WAP. They were like, oh yeah, finally, I was tired of Beyonce and her Mufasa music. And so I was just like, dang, like y'all really haven't learned anything? And it honestly made me sad in a way, because I was just like, I feel like with everything that has happened, because a lot of us, our perceptions across the board between Black Americans and Black Africans and Black Africans and Black Americans and Black Americans and Black Latinos and those in the Caribbean, like it's so separate. Like nothing is united in any way. And to the point where people outside of Black America don't even call themselves Black. Like, because they don't want to be attached to Black Americans. It's that bad. And so it's just like, you know, with everything being so separate and there being no unity, and it's going to take something real deep because this is generations and generations of it. And really what builds those perspectives that everyone has of each other is white people in the media, and how that whole, you know, right during the civil rights movement and everything, they wanted to make Africa, you know, they made Africa seem like Africa a country instead of a continent of different countries of 54 plus 2 other soon-to-be colonized countries, and then all these different cultures, thousands of languages. They made it seem like one, and like one issue is going on: famine, poverty. You're not gonna, because they didn't want us, people who built the capital in this country, to go. Like, you know, they may say they want us to go back to Africa, but they don't want us to go back to Africa. They made it seem so badly, and then vice versa, you know, everywhere else, how they deemed us, since Birth of a Nation, the very first film to be globalized and show Black Americans as rapists and thieves. And so they always, these media representations of every single group, it has built ignorance amongst different Black communities and how they see each other, to where it's even within those communities, to where it's really hard to say whether there'll be unity, and whether that will, something as simple as Black is King from Beyoncé would have someone want to gravitate to something much larger than Black is King. Like, this is an issue that's so much larger and so much deeper. So I can't say that something like that can make a change. So yeah, I don't know if you had another question, Bia.
I definitely love what you said, Passion, because I also saw that same tweet, and I was like, come on, y'all. You know, like, and I didn't really think about it from that view, because I know, like, when I was, like, watching it, I was like, you know, like you said, like, a follow-up. Like, I was like, well, I want to follow up. I want to learn more. Like, I was really eager to learn more, because I didn't, like speaking about, like, the westernized culture, like, I didn't learn this type of stuff. And so like this was not, you know, this was never like front and center when we were like taking history class, you know, like they was talking about like European countries and like things of that nature. And so when I saw this and I was looking at the symbolism and I was looking at people that worked on the project talking about certain things and what like certain things meant, I was like, oh, I really like want to follow up. I want to learn more. But now like hearing like what Pashan said, and I'm thinking about like the Twitter discourse I was seeing, that I don't think it pushed people like to one more. Like some people was like already rolling out and it was like, oh, this is demonic and like this and that, and it's like, no. It's just that, you know, where we're from in America, they're not gonna portray Africa to be great. They're not gonna do that. Like that's been like from the beginning. They have not portrayed Black people in Africa in a way that is basically like in a good light. It's just because that's not what, you know, America. If it's not the American way, it's bad. Like that's literally like what it comes down to, like how they show us these images. And so just like seeing the stuff like that, I'm like, well, you know, let's open our minds a little bit. Let's look into it. Let's not just rule these things out. A lot of times I feel like people, it's like, well, okay, if we are not doing it, then it's like bad. And it's like, no, it's just a different way of doing things. It's just not the same culture that's here. It doesn't necessarily mean that the culture is bad. It's just not the culture here. So yeah, I think Pashan definitely brought some good points. And now I'm thinking about the Twitter like discourse. I don't know, like, I don't think it's going to be a big push, but like I'm very interested, like, and I hope she doesn't follow up, because I know she don't be liking to talk, but I'm like, I'm gonna need you to speak. I'm gonna need you to get in front of the camera, let's talk about it, because, you know, I've been trying to get little things from the creators that worked on it with her, and I'm just like, I'm eager to learn more, because I've been doing just a lot of work with like just anti-Blackness and anti-racism, and doing trainings like in school. And within these trainings, I just realized like how conditioned we are and how we are socialized to associate certain things with stuff. And there's a lot of unlearning and relearning we have to do. And like from the jump, you see these images of Black people, and and not consciously, like, consciously, not consciously, but like unconsciously, you create these biases, or you create these like associations with that, and not realizing that that is what the plan was, for you to be conditioned to associate that with that. And so, yeah, it's gonna take a lot, because people have to be willing to really like unlearn the things that they learned and relearn these things, and like sit there and like, you know, be ready to be uncomfortable and digest these things and get out of the American way of thinking and American views, because it's just real crazy. Like, just as I got older, and I just realized just recently, like, wow, they really was programming us to believe these things. And so it's like, when you go through all these years of programming, it's gonna take a while for you to get out of that. And I hope people, you know, I don't know what project it's gonna be, but I do hope people get out of that, and like start to do that, because it's an amazing journey once you start doing that. Like, once I start doing a lot of anti-racist work and anti-Blackness and doing the trainings and realizing like certain things, I was like, wow, this is really crazy. Yeah.
So I definitely agree with some great points that you both made. Going back to what you said, Pashan, I know you said you don't think it did anything. I can see that perspective. I agree, because I feel like that's true, but at the same time, I feel like it'll definitely encourage a lot of her fans to do research about their ancestry, because that's kind of the power she has. And I think that's why that's part of why she, decided to be a part of The Lion King, because she knows the power she has, and of course the Beehive and like just her listeners are not everybody in the world, so it's really not it's not gonna impact everybody, because that's just her fan base pretty much. But I feel like she has a pretty huge fan base, so that start is a start, like that's some kind of progress. But I also feel like we can't really expect this one body of work to make such an impact on all Black people. I've definitely seen some crazy stuff on Twitter. Like, I see people saying that she's culture appropriating, which I think is ridiculous. I see people just saying that she's capitalizing off of African culture, which I think is just ridiculous, because most of the artists that are a part of the album are African, so I don't see how she would be culture appropriating. And at the end of the day, it is our ancestry. And I do like the point that you made about just all different Black people in the entire diaspora being so separate from each other. And a lot of Black people that aren't from America don't want to be associated with being American. Like, everyone is so quick to talk about where their family's from. Like, say if someone's grandmother is Puerto Rican, like that person might say that they're Puerto Rican rather than saying that they're, American, just with that descent. So I feel like it's kind of tough. I definitely feel like it's made an impact for her fans, but as far as everyone, I think anything Beyonce does, a lot of people are gonna try and find something wrong with it.
I agree with everyone's points. And I just feel, and I love that you said that this is just, this work itself is not going to push a unified Black consciousness, but it's another flame in the fire that keeps the idea moving forward. And I would hope that, I feel like for me, we need more people who are willing to, that was one of the things I was thinking of, that we need more people in schools, more African history needs to be taught to Black children in America, and African American history should be taught in Africa, vice versa. We should learn about everywhere that we come from, because it shouldn't be that the only African person that we seem to know about, really, and some of us don't even know who he is, but Nelson Mandela. And I feel like there are many African people who get lost in history, just because, like Isaac said, there's always been Westernized media and Western culture has always sought out to demonize and vilify Black and African people. I mean, take it for instance, the Congolese leader, Lumumba, and how the Americans got other Africans to go and assassinate him. And even when we speak of Marcus Garvey, he gets lost. He's not spoken up enough, in my opinion. He kind of gets lost in African history and African American history. So I would hope that this film pushes us to want to learn more about us. But I just, like I said, I just feel like when I see tweets of people like, oh, I'm tired of that Mufasa music. I'm like, I'm just like how brainwashed that this media has you, where you are tired of listening and seeing the visuals and music of the native people from where we all originally come from. Even the demonization of voodoo culture, and how growing up you're taught that voodoo is something demonic or evil behind it, when voodoo is actually a form of good magic and spirituality in African culture. And you start to think about it like, oh, why did I think that voodoo was so evil? And then you think about the Salem witch trials, and how even when the white women and people were found to be witches, their source to explain where they got it from was the African, the slave who showed them what they were doing, and they were, it's voodoo, so it's evil. But I think that Western media has always been out to vilify and demonize Black people. Even when you, for being Black and being a gay male, you hear stories about places like Atlanta being the epicenter of HIV and AIDS, and I just feel like they push these narratives to vilify. They push this narrative of Black gay men and Black gay people to keep us separated from the rest of the world. And I just love that this movie, I would hope that this movie pushes us to be more empowered and push us to gain the courage and the bravery to speak against things that that are set out against us.
Sorry, I just wanted to add something to what you said, because you had mentioned, as far as like, say in academics, us learning about each other, vice versa, which I definitely agree with. However, I feel like we have a privilege that we don't recognize as Black Americans. And even though, yes, like we're oppressed in our own ways, us being within the Western media is a privilege of its own, because we have more access to learning about other people compared to them learning about us. So there's some countries, some nations where their media is very monitored, and they don't have the access to learn about those outside, even within the continent, and even some within their own country, because there's some people within their country, they haven't traveled in certain cities and don't know about different ethnic groups. So I feel like with that, us having that privilege, we should recognize it and appreciate it, and not, be sensitive, but also understand that difference between us, and to where it's, I feel like we have more ability to open our minds compared to some nations.
I agree with that. And that's why I would hope that people in America, Black Americans, would, instead of seeing the Beyoncé of it all, really sit down and think about learning about the cultures and what's the word I'm trying to say? Learn the history and cherish the heritage of being a descendant of Africa, and not just learning about people in America.
I don't like how they kept comparing it to Wakanda, a superhero film, fiction.
That's what
We're like like really Wakanda? Seriously, is that what we're good for?
Agreed, because I feel like Wakanda served its purpose as far as I mean it was a superhero movie, and as far as I guess just showing, I mean I don't think it can represent all African culture, but I do feel like it served its purpose as far as like showing Black people in royalty. That's pretty much it, but I don't like how it became a meme and how it just became this joke. Because that's not what it was for, and I don't think any of the other superhero movies, like I don't think there was any like memes or jokes coming out of those movies to make fun of the people in the movie. So I don't like that, and as far as comparing Black is King to Wakanda, I do feel like that just makes it into like a meme. It makes it into a joke, and it's not a joke. It was really just to show the beauty of Black people.
But that also shows the disconnect between Black Americans or Black people who aren't African to actual Black Africans. Mm-hmm. Like something that's African related, you want to compare it to a fictional superhero film, but you're not taking it for what it is. Like it just, it like again, it pokes fun of it in a way. That just shows the actual disconnect between us. How, yes, we're all Black, but we're really not the same, and we don't see each other the same. And it was crazy.
And that was my whole point, is that I feel like sometimes as Black people, and you're creating pieces of art that pushes people to think. I feel that sometimes you have people who are like, oh, well, this is the film, but you know, it can't be what it is. Like it just can't be. And I feel like sometimes we can be our worst critic. Like you have, like I said, you have Black is King, and you have, you know, Black Panther and stuff like that. And even though they're showing Africanness, they're showing in my eyes, they're showing two separate ideas of Africanness. You have people who are quick to, that's why I was going back to, is how we are kind of been brainwashed to always try to find a disconnect in something, not really sitting and taking the lesson for what it is. So that was my whole idea of it.
I have a question for y'all. Do y'all really think that we're all not the same? Because I always feel like we're all the same. We just had to grow up in different places and in different cultures, but we all are the same to me.
I feel like we all have similarities, and I feel like we all take in some sort of anti-Black oppression, no matter where you are, where you're from. However, we're very different. It's like in a cultural sense, we're very different. Yeah, beliefs, we're very different, speak different languages, different, just completely different. I mean, we're human beings. We have our own minds. We have our own communities within Blackness. And I feel like that's where it gets dangerous, is we're always seen as the monolith, being Black. That's because of that anti-Blackness as a monolith. So always as one. It's like, like for example, I can be a Black British person and they'll still call me African American, or they'll call me, you know what I mean? Like they just set me to this oneness with everyone else in the world because of the color of our skin, or because of, you know, because we're just Black, you know. And so that in itself, us being Black is really the only thing that I feel like we have in common, and and we have similarities within our culture. Some cultures have similarities, but for the most part, we're all very different people.
I feel that we are all, like Pashan said, we all are the same because we are Black. But I feel that not too many of us are, how would I put it? We are the same until something happens, if that makes sense. Or we're different until something happens. Like, for example, you'll have like a mixed race, biracial, a biracial person who claims to be Black, right? And then something we sometimes I've seen that growing up, we try to push them away from having Blackness, but then something happens to them. For example, they get pulled over by the cops and they experience some form of racism. And then we're quick to claim them like, oh, you're Black. I don't know why you thought you was going to be something. I don't know why you thought it was going to be different than what it was, but you Black. And it's just like, I feel that we are all different, and I feel that we all need to embrace our differences so that we can come together. Instead of being
gatekeepers.
Yeah. Instead of being Black when people like us when Black people experience downfall. Because I feel like we're all different, but we're quick to point out that we're the same when something happens to us. And we all need to acknowledge, we all need to accept our differences, because like, even though we all are different, we all share that skin tone. We all are fighting against this entity of anti-Blackness. So
I definitely liked what you just said, Marshawn, because I feel like, basically, I agree basically like with the points that were made. Like, we are like what makes us like the same, like the similarities, like we have some Blackness, but going back, because I do feel like that, I forgot what you said, Marshawn, but like something about us coming together and gatekeeping, because I feel like it's always like, these are the rules to be Black, and if you do not, if you don't make these checkpoints, then you're not Black. And it's like it's just with Black people, we can be Black in different areas, and it's just a different culture, different type of Blackness, and we can allow to be that. I feel like it's just like, okay, this is like, it's like one rule. It's like a rule book. It's like, okay, you have to follow these requirements to be Black, and if you don't follow these requirements, then you're not Black. And it's just like, we can. I learned this in queer, in one of my queer studies classes, and they were just saying like how, like, with white people, they can just be whatever they want, and no one is gonna critique it, or no one's gonna be like, oh, you're not this or you're not that. And most of the time when you think about things, you don't even think about their race. And with us, it's like, it's always that main thing. It's always like, oh, Black, and these are the things that come with that. And it's just like, well, no, we can be all these different things. It's not, Blackness is not just one thing. We're all different people. You can't expect, you don't expect people to just be the same. Like, we're all different people. We all come from different areas. And and just because there is a wealthy Black person doesn't mean that they're not Black, because they have money. And it's always for me, I feel like it's been associated with for what I've seen, mostly it seems like it's been associated with struggle. And these are the certain things and so if you didn't do that, then it's like, oh, your Black card is revoked. And it's just like, no, we can be all these different things. And I feel like basically like what everyone was saying, like, I feel like, you know, that the similarity is our Blackness, but it's just Blackness done in a different area. And I lost my train of thought, but that's basically what I'm saying.
I totally agree with that. Recognizing I feel like we need to stop being so tough on ourselves to prove our Blackness to everyone and to ourselves, and stop, you know, pinpointing the things that may not be what Black people do to distance us apart. With that, I would ask each one of you, what would be 3 takeaways from tonight's conversation? They don't have to be 3. They could be like a main that you would want to leave the audience with moving forward.
I would just say, trust yourself and trust your intuition. Like, that was a big thing that I got from this, and that I'm continuing to learn how to do. It's just like trusting your intuition, your experience, because no one else knows your experience like you do. So there will be a lot of voices that try to challenge or change your experience, but at the end of the day, like, you know your truth deep down. Even if you don't like truly know it, you know, and so it's just about having that faith and following that guide that is there for you.
Yeah, pretty much same. I was gonna go along the lines of learn how to think for yourself. But you learn how to think for yourself by trusting yourself. So pretty much the same thing. Like, trust yourself, trust your intuition, trust the path that you are going down, and trust all of the signs and the guidance that you get along the way. Doubting, and also trust all of embrace the uncertainty that comes with your spiritual journey. Embrace the doubts that comes with it. Embrace all of the questions that pop up in your head, all of the concepts and the different crazy ideas. Embrace it all. But like I was saying about this book that I was reading, take it. Don't be so quick to take it for what it is. You know what I mean? Always be open to different possibilities. And yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would say the first one, like, just from conversation. I don't know, like, who's all here, like, seeing Black is King, but, like, watching Black is King and kind of taking Beyoncé out of it, and, like, listening to the message and looking at the symbolism, and kind of, like, not so focused on, like, Beyoncé the artist. You know, it may be hard, but because I just know I love Black is King for the message. Even though I love Beyoncé, that's my favorite artist, but when I think about Black is King, I separated her from that film, and I looked at, like, the message, because I feel like the message is something that I needed right now in my life, because I'm just in a very weird space, like, just graduating and realizing that a lot of my life was centered around being a student. I don't know, like, so I'm just in a weird space, and I really needed the message that what Black is King conveyed. Another thing I would say, just like to unlearn and relearn. There's a lot of things that we were taught, and so view it. You know, I know we talked earlier about, like, how some people said it was demonic. Like, you know, being open to, like, unlearn those unconscious biases that we have when we think about how America has shown us what Africa is, and, you know, doing that research and unlearning and relearning these things. And the third thing I would say, man, I feel like, yikes. So the third thing I would just say, I think I tied it with my second one, but the third thing I was basically saying, like, you know, like, going outside and, like, doing research and kind of using this, like, as a stepping stone to, like, learn these things and not, like, push it away and to pull it in. So yes.
Okay, so my biggest takeaway was really the disconnect between just all of the different Black people in the diaspora. Like, I don't think that was something that I thought about too much before, but it's definitely something to think about. And then the other thing that I took away from it was just how we really just need a change in how Black people are portrayed in the media. And I agree with Isaac about taking Beyoncé out of it. So I'm definitely gonna watch it a few more times and try to like just really focus on the message. Cause not that I didn't before, but watching it without considering Beyoncé in it, because I haven't done that yet. I just kind of really see her place in it and her purpose in being the face of it. So yeah.
I would say the takeaway that I feel like the audience definitely should look into, mainly this would be more geared towards those who are African, Eastern African, and North African in particular, is to don't look into the film too much if you don't see yourself. As far as representation goes, first of all, there's only so many you can do within that film. As much time as it was, there's only so many cultures that could be represented. So don't take offense to that, and also look at it in the perspective of those within the Black diaspora, the artist, and how it connects to her, and those within the Black diaspora, especially with it being mainly in Western Africa. So basically just don't take to, I mean, I know we all want that like representation, but don't take it too deep as far as not having it. Be understanding of, you know, of course it's art and there's many different ways to interpreting it, but I think the larger interpretation of it was mainly, from what I took from it, was mainly for people within the Black diaspora in Western Africa. So that, and then also similar to what Isaac said, to just for Black Americans or people within the Black diaspora to be open-minded of each other, be open-minded of your privilege of learning, and of your privilege of having if you're specifically Black American, of your privilege of learning of other people, having the opportunity to. If you have the opportunity to, or you have access, then take it, because you don't know, considering today's politics, you don't know how much longer we have until then. So take in as much as you can, and redistribute that information you have. Don't just take it in and continue on with your life. Use that information. We're all here to learn from each other and teach others. So whether it's to friends, family, a stranger, you know, don't be afraid to redistribute the information that you took time out of your day to learn. And then also don't be afraid to voice your opinion. So, yeah.
Everyone touched on the main points that I was gonna say, but just really reinforcing, my takeaway would be reinforcing this idea for Black people across the world, that there is so much power in who you are, in what you do, but also pushing, like Isaac and everyone else has said, being able to see the film and take off your lenses, take off the God complex lenses that we sometimes have when artists create work like this. And I would also say for Black Americans who are artists or look into Black art, be open to learning like Isaac said, and what Pashan said, and what Ifeanyi said, be open to learning and unlearning certain things that you were taught about Black people and Africans in general. And just loving, and even though we trying to take Beyonce out of it, just loving the appreciation, being appreciative that she took the time out to create something like this. Appreciation to show that there are multiple faces, and there are multiple faces to being Black. So that would be my takeaways from tonight. I guess our next question would be, like, there was a lot of African spirituality in the film, and I wanted to know, did you feel like you learned something that you didn't know from the film, watching the film and listening to the music and viewing
it? I will say, like, I don't know anything about Native practices that come from anywhere in Africa, but I do know that, like, some of those things live through our DNA and have been, like, resurrected and passed down through generations, without us even knowing, like, exactly where they come from. You see it in music, you see it in dance, and I feel like that was the greatest lesson of this film for me, like the idea or just the lesson of, like, know where you come from, to gain a greater sense of identity and purpose in the world. And this idea of, like, great kings and queens and deities never die. You know, they live on through us. And that was something that I, would kind of, that was an idea that I would toss around in my own head, but, like, to see it coming from someone else was very reassuring. And also looking at how, like, Beyonce is basically an incarnate of Oshun, and how she has, like, manifested and called on that energy through her entire life and, like, through her entire career, and now she's this, like, entity that lives through all of us, and I don't know, that's something that I definitely want to explore more of. The importance of knowing your history, from who your grandparents were to who your ancestors in Africa were, and whatever, spiritual and cultural practices that they had. So yeah, that was something that I learned. And also, like, this idea of, like, your ancestors watching over you. And that's something that I kind of always heard from time to time, but never really, like, digested that until recently. And I also, like, I don't know, personally, I feel like I have a connection to the spirit realm where I can kind of feel certain presences in the room. And, like I said, for a long time, I thought I was just crazy. Like, I thought I was just, like, living in this imaginary world. And then to see it coming from someone who I admire and who has become so successful, who believes in those ideas and is now presenting it on a large platform, is like, yeah, so that was very, very eye-opening for me. I definitely have a lot to learn about my own background. But yeah, so, like, just seeing that kind of spirituality that I've sort of been, like, teetering on the edge of, like, diving into. Now I'm like, okay, I can safely dive into that to be okay.
Yeah.
It is interesting. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, y'all both are definitely, from my eyes, I would be the one to confirm it. I know someone who could. But y'all both are definitely children of Oshun, most definitely.
Wow, I feel like
don't
I
tell
am.
me that.
Don't say that, because I definitely feel like I am.
Just because, okay, so me, I'm a child of Oshun and Oshango. But Oshun is like the deity of water, creativity,
love, fertility, yeah,
fine arts, like love, money, divination. Aaron, what you were speaking of when you were speaking, like you have dreams and you would see things. I know when you said that, I definitely felt you, because growing up for me, I remember growing up and I would always see shadow figures. And I would always question, why do I see what I see? And then I was just telling Danielle, is that last week I got a reading done, and the lady told me that I am directly connected to source. And then my mom and my sister confirmed it for me that basically that I'm a witch. And so just definitely, I think if you're a Black child and you growing up, you definitely it definitely pushes you to pay attention to the signs. Because I know for me as well, I remember, like I said, seeing shadow figures and what else? Just I knew that the ancestors were watching me, and I knew that they were there, just because I remember back in my senior year of high school, I had a mentor of mine. He was a reverend at the church I attended, but he passed away. This was in December. He passed away, and then we get to cut to June or July. My grandmother passed away. And I remember at her funeral, I looked at the obituary, and the guy who was giving the service, I kid you not, he had the exact same name as the man, my mentor, who passed away in December. And he was a reverend as well. So for me, it confirmed in my mind that, the ancestors, my spirit guides, they are definitely here, and they are definitely near me, keeping me protected and stuff like that. But Danielle, you can say what you.
Yeah.
I interrupted you and everything.
No, yeah, it's okay. I was just gonna say, just to piggyback off of Aaron, I agree as far as the really recognizing and accepting that the practices, the spirituality, and the belief system, it lives through you, whether you want to accept it and tap into it or not. But it definitely lives through you, and I believe that the film, and because I've already started to tap into that type of energy, working with my ancestors, and really trying to receive messages so that I can understand my lineage and the practices that they practice and the beliefs that they held or whatnot, and how it's being passed down to me. And when I saw the film, if anything, it just confirmed for me that that's what we should be. That's what we all should be doing right now. Yes. We all need to be connecting with our ancestors right now. We all need to be connecting to source. Somehow really disconnecting from everything that no longer serves just on the outside externally, and really reconnecting with ourselves, with our our most authentic selves, and when our higher self. So yeah, definitely I agree with that.
Yeah. And we are coming up on our last two questions. So our last real question would be, what would be resources that people can look into to want to either study more about Pan-Africanism or delve and understand more of the symbolisms and the cultures that were presented in the film, the cultures that were not represented in the film? What would be resources for people to use? They don't have to be those. They could be affirmation books. They could be books for people to use to better grow into their power. What would you all's resources be?
I'm glad that you said affirmation books, because there's this book by Iyanla Vincent, or however you pronounce her last name. It's Iyanla. And it's called The Acts of Faith. And
I have that book. Let me see if I can pull it out.
That's the book for just Black people, on their journey back to themselves. That's actually one of the quotes that Beyoncé says in Black is King, is that she says, like, come home to yourself or something like that. I think that was in Bigger. But yeah, that's a perfect book to lead you back to yourself, and just to implement the spiritual practices. Basically, the general. It's very general. It's like it kind of leads you to how our ancestors kind of operated and how they started their days. Of course, it's completely different, but just the intention and the spirituality of the excerpts that she has for you to read and the quotes under it.
Yeah, this book is great because it's daily meditations for people of color, and each affirmation. So the book is 365 days out of the year, and each day is an affirmation and a reflection to do with that. And it's an easy read. You can read one page a day. And this is the updated version. There's an older version of it, but this is the 25th anniversary version. But if anyone wanted to read it, I would say you could buy it through Amazon, and what's the bookstore that starts with a B? Barnes and Noble?
Barnes and Nobles.
Yeah, so Barnes and Nobles has this on sale for $15. So if anyone wanted to get it, definitely get it. You could probably find the older version for a lot cheaper, around $5-7 on eBay somewhere in good condition. So I'm glad that you said that, because this is a great book.
I also wanted to say, I don't know how many of us are into tarot, but if you are, I would say seek out an African deck, because I feel like that speaks more to how our ancestors kind of operate and how they think. Like the original deck that we all kind of learned from, that's definitely very European. So I would just say, like, seek out, just like go to your nearest African store and like just find some things. That's where I go. So yeah.
As far as like, there is one book that I would recommend that I actually really like. It was In Search of the Black Fantastic by Richard Aiton. And I feel like in some way, like, if you connect, because it really connects like artists and how they use their art and it intertwined with politics. And so I feel like Beyonce's Black is King. I mean, everything is political, and if you have anything Black in it, it's always going to be political. And so Black is King, it definitely has shows the political message between Black people within Blackness itself. And so I definitely would recommend that book. As far as like stuff on like in Africa, like I don't really have it on the top of my head. Mainly like the sources I've been introduced to, they're very old, like came from family and all that stuff. So it wasn't like, I don't know, it was just something I grew up like, you know, having that information fed to me. However, I still recommend people to search for it. Even if someone doesn't hand it to you on a silver platter, like still go out your way and search for it, do your research. Definitely do your research on different people within Africa, Bantu people, Kush people, there's multiple different people, and within those people are different cultures and different ethnic groups of itself. So definitely, if you want to take what was in Black is King, search what tribes were used in Black is King and learn their cultures. It really is eye-opening, and it does open your mind to just learn about other people. It makes you feel more connected with the world as well. And it makes you also appreciative of just culture itself, in itself, even if it's not your culture, just culture in itself. So, yeah.
Kind of going off that, like the same, like with Pan Africanness, I haven't had research sources. I've been kind of just listening to what the creators have been saying, and then researching, and so just finding articles and stuff. So nothing really specific that I can name, but kind of just oh, okay, I saw someone said this, and I'm interested in that, and so I kind of been doing that with that, doing that as far as with everything revolving Pan-Africanness. But it's this documentary, just speaking, I know one of the topics that we talked about, it's just how they're it's a rule book to be Black, and it's called Black Is, Black Ain't. It's by Marlon Riggs, and the film, I watched this, I want to say last year, and I really enjoyed how it was just explaining different things that we don't think about when it comes to Blackness, or how Blackness, people think it's monolithic and it's not, and they compared it to gumbo, and there are certain ingredients that are the same, but it's not gumbo. Not the gumbo is not going to be the same when you try anyone. So it's just it's all different, and it's Bell Hooks was in there talking about some things, and I really enjoy seeing that and just listening from that perspective. And so I definitely recommend that documentary, Black Is, Black Ain't. And it's by Marlon Riggs. And it's also too, Marlon Riggs was also going through HIV too at the time, during the film and how it was filmed. And so it was going in and out of that, and just seeing that in the contrast. It was really good documentary. So I would recommend Black Is, Black Ain't.
My resources would be for anyone who is in high school, grammar school, and they would like to go to a college and really learn about these cultures and things. If you're in Chicago, we have on the South Side, Northwestern has a campus specifically dedicated to Pan-African and inner city studies, and it's on 40th and Cottage Grove. If anyone would like to go there and speak to someone, the Pan-African professor there, he recently just passed away. So just if you would like to go there, someone want to put together a field trip, I will put together a field trip when everything is out the clear, going there. Also, there's a documentary called Hidden Colors. I don't know if anyone has heard of it, but there are 3 episodes where they talk about certain things. It's been a minute since I've seen it. I have it on DVD, but yeah, Hidden Colors, it should be available on YouTube to watch for free. And then Ifeanyi touched on the spiritual, religious aspect of it. So if anyone would like to study, yes, we love Hidden Colors. If anyone would like to study about the Orisha, certain practices, learning certain spiritual baths and stuff like that, I would recommend reading Jambalaya I can't remember who it's by, but it's really popular. And then this book, The Handbook of Yoruba Religious Concepts. And in this book, it gives you like a full rundown of the history, the things that you can do to create a oneness about yourself, finding out which Orisha you fall under and how to give to that Orisha and stuff like that. That's one resource. And then another book that I've been reading is The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. And this book really helps you to really delve into that subconscious and really push you in a way to heal certain things, but also being able to create your best life. And I think this would be a great book for young Black people to read and really learning a different way, a different key to success. And then just for Isaac, so he loves Beyonce, it would be, Dame Milan got me this book, but this book is called, so it's Empowering Quotes and Wisdom from Our Fierce and Flawless Queen, Beyonce. And this is by John Davis, and the illustrations are by Eliza Wilson. But it's like a cute affirmation book and things about Beyonce and stuff like that. I don't know if anyone can see it, but yeah, it's cute. Those would be my resources.
Okay, so I read this book called Waking Up by Sam Harris. I don't have the physical copy on me, but it's Waking Up by Sam Harris. And I read that kind of at the beginning of my spiritual journey in like 2017. Yeah, so that was the first book that kind of set me on my spiritual path. But the thing is, like, that one is in the context of like freeing the conscious mind and kind of learning how to like be present and not really attach yourself to like situations and ideas, and also like learning how to breathe and meditate. But I read this book From Niggas to Gods. And it's a popular book. I didn't realize. It's a very easy read.
Who was it by?
It is by Akil.
The name's not familiar. Okay.
Yeah, it's a book by Akil, and it's just a like collection of essays and journals written by different Black writers actually. And it's very much like in our language, and it's really about like how to free your mind from colonial thinking. So I read this book at the beginning or like at the end of last year, and it really like it heavily changed my perception about a lot of things, because when I went back to school the next semester, like I just thought everything so differently. So I finished the first book, but they also have a volume 2 that I have not started yet. But yeah, it's very, very eye-opening. It's kind of aggressive too. Like you're reading, you like, damn, like read me, but very, very cool. And so I just started reading this trilogy by David G. Benner. The first one is called Surrender to Love. But so it's basically a book about Christian spirituality. It's like non-evangelical Christian spirituality. I don't necessarily agree with everything that he talks about, but it's definitely like a good read to kind of evaluate your own ideas and kind of work through like what you truly believe in. But the first one is about surrender to love, and it's about like kind of allowing the love of God in, pretty much. But it's for me, it's been more about like learning how to love yourself, you know, in all of your flaws and like the parts of yourself that you consider ugly, or like things that you know, we have things about ourselves that we feel like makes me a bad person. You know, it's like how to look at those things as just part of who you are and how to use those to grow, you know. And then the second volume is The Gift of Being Yourself, which I haven't gotten to that one yet, but I'm very, very excited. And they're very small, maybe about 100, a little over 100 pages each. And then the third one is Desiring God's Will, aligning our hearts with the heart of God. We'll see what happens. I'll let you know how it goes. But yeah, those were referred to me by a friend. And it's been really cool so far. And I've also been reading A Good Cry by Nikki Giovanni. The bitch loves poetry. So, yeah, I'm still getting through this one, but it's very, very good. She kind of just talks about everything from the perspective of a Black woman. Yeah, so I highly recommend that book or anything written by her, really. But yeah, I think that's it. Okay, so I have this other book called Originals, kind of about the thinking of nonconformists, or like, yeah, so it's like, because I definitely consider myself a person who thinks outside of mainstream consciousness. Like anything that becomes mainstream, I'm like, fuck that, I don't want to do that no more. Like I'm gonna go find my own shit, you know. So it's kind of talking about how to embrace your originality, and live your life through kind of your own integrity and your own accord. So I kind of just started this one. I haven't gotten too deep into it, but yeah, it's by Adam Grant.
I think I read another book by him.
Yeah, so this one, yeah, it was pretty cool. But that's all I have. Oh, also, there's a documentary on Amazon Prime called Out of Darkness. I'll have to look up who it's by, but it basically talks about the journey of, well, it talks about Black people pre-colonialism. So it's like pre-colonial Africa, what life was like or may have been like, and then how things have changed since then, and how like colonialism has affected like the way that we think and move through the world now. But it talks about how Black people were the original people of the entire land, and like how we started civilization and things like that. And so like that kind of started my my education on like pre-colonial Africa. And I have some other readings by Sheikh Anta Diop that I am trying to obtain. I have a couple more books that I need to finish before that, but yeah, I think he is a really good person to look into if you're wanting to learn more about kind of pre-colonial African civilizations. And then there's this YouTuber, his channel is Infinite Waters.
Yes. Hello.
Yes. Breathing in that good ass prana, baby.
Yes.
I watch his videos religiously. Every time I watch his videos, he's just like catching me up on where I am, you know. So he's definitely someone to keep up with. If you are feeling like you have no one to turn to talk about your personal experience with, he shares his spiritual perspective on everything, and it's really eye-opening and enriching. So yeah, that's all I got.
I love that you mentioned him, because he definitely, when I was going through my little depression, I definitely was watching him religiously. And I'm glad that you mentioned documentaries, because so it's called Hidden Colors. But it's like a set of 5 films, and they kind of like talk about the marginalization of African Americans in America. And it's by Tariq Nasheed. But yeah, if you wanna, they talk about that stuff too. Let me see. So part 1 is the untold history of people of Aboriginal, Moor, and African descent. And then part 2 is the triumph of melanin. Part 3 is the rules of racism. And part four is the religion of white supremacy. And part 5 is the art of Black warfare.
Wow.
So yeah, if anybody ever wants to watch something, I'm glad that you brought that documentary up on Amazon, because I started it. I never got to finish it.
It's long, but
it's long as shit. But yeah, Hidden Colors definitely is another documentary.
I'll have to check that out.
Add on to that. So yeah.
I'm actually at that point now where I'm starting to get a lot of books. Like, I was literally just on my social media. It's like, hey guys, recommend some books. I'm always doing my recommend some books. But I'm definitely at that point now where I'm starting to read more books. The Alchemist is a pretty rudimentary book compared to all the books that you all just mentioned, but especially it's also fiction. But yeah, it's a good start. It's a good start for people who want to start their spiritual journey or whatnot. And then I'm also reading this book called "But What If We're Wrong" by Chuck Klosterman.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this book is basically, it's not really a spiritual book, but it does touch on a lot. Like, it touches on how we should take information. If this is what I'm taking from it, it touches on, it basically explains like how we should take information for a grain of salt, and not live in the casualty of certitude, because we kind of just take things that have been studied and theorized and proven to be true for certainty, like things like gravity and time, instead of really questioning it and allowing the possibility of it to change. Yeah. Like the ideas that we establish. A word just slips me, but like the ideas that we come up with and establish within ourselves and within society, and not just making it so that's what it is. Like things can definitely change, but I'm excited to get into all of these books that y'all recommended, though. In regards to just tools in general, books are a really good tool, but like as far as just soul searching in general and just really and getting in tune with your higher self and in your intuition, journaling is really good. Journaling is a really good tool to do, especially if you keep your journals and you keep up with them and you look back at them to reread. You will definitely learn a lot about yourself.
Yes,
Yes.
It's actually kind of like, it'd be kind of like, whoa, because I be reading some of my stuff and just, all right, you got to switch it up. I am not a tarot reader, especially since this is being published. I am not a tarot reader, but I am starting to read for myself.
Okay.
So that I can connect with my ancestors. Like I this is another form that I use to connect with my ancestors. My ancestors are my spirit guides, my ancestors, source itself. That's another tool that I'll use.
Yes.
Well, so
definitely recommend tarot. And for if you want to like a general reading, there are definitely some people on YouTube who I look at for readings. Simply Love Tarot, House of Oshun. There's another one. Those are the two. Holistic Harmony Incorporated. I have a friend, he has his own, he does tarot readings. His name is Damien the Mentor. I will send I did a live with him on spirituality, so definitely check that out if you want to get a reading with him. And then my friend, my mentor through my life coach certification, Kiana, she does in-depth readings as well. And there is a full reading. It covers love, career, life. So yeah, if anybody ever wants to get into one, I definitely recommend her. I don't know if you remember Brandy, Aaron. She went to Kenwood.
Oh, Brandy. I was just with her the other day.
She's not doing any right now, but she's another one who does readings. Yeah, definitely tarot. Okay, and then Aaron.
I've had my tarot cards read a couple times, but I think so basically I've been told that like it's more like an intuitive thing. So like if you're an intuitive person, then like the spirit kind of works through you with like selecting certain readings. So it was just Danny here saying like, oh, like you don't really do tarot readings, but you probably are capable of doing it, you know.
Yeah.
But that was it.
Yeah, I feel that. That's why I want to start with myself first. I'm definitely start with myself, get in tune with my own like intuition and shit. If at any point I feel strong enough to do it, I would gladly help people. I would love helping people.
Yes, that's on me. I'm always down to help people test out their tarot skills. I want to learn just because I know I definitely, that was one of the things she told me is that I definitely had that intuition for it. It would just be for me learning how to read the cards and tell someone the story that I see within the cards. So that would be my thing. One of the main sources I recommend to people who want to start their spirituality is meditation and practicing your breathing, because your breathing also too, you know, a lot of us act off impulse and we don't know how to like calm ourselves. So breathing and meditation, those are the two starter ways to start with. And I would recommend in the morning when you wake up or at nighttime before you go to bed.
I'm trying to find other ways to meditate. Do you all like do the, you know, sitting in one position, closing your eyes and just kind of like trying to silence your mind? Do you all practice that type of meditation? Or do you have other forms of meditation that you practice? Because there are some active ways that you can meditate as well.
Well, I typically do like the sitting and just breathing and kind of paying attention to my surroundings. And a lot of people kind of like, a lot of people who are like starting meditation, they kind of talk about how like, oh, I just like think too much and I have too much on my mind, but you know, and I was sure something like that's part of it, like kind of pay attention to those thoughts, but also be willing to let them pass, you know. And I sometimes do walking meditations. So like I love walking through parks. That's my favorite thing. And so
walking by water, it's mine.
Yeah. And so like walking meditations is a thing. But it, you know, and I with that I started doing it like guided meditations. So just kind of like you start off like standing in one spot, paying attention to like things that are close to you, things that are far away, and like the sounds and like how your body is moving and things like that. And I recently, not recently, but I started doing like meditations where so you can do meditations for like relationships, like if there's someone who you're having like trouble in a relationship or someone you want to get closer to, like doing certain meditations where you kind of meditate on that person and like meditate about like your connection with that person and like where you want it to be.
That's what I do.
I've done that and in a weird, like it worked, like, and not in a way that I even expected it to work, but there were these two people who I was not very close with, and I was kind of forced to be in a space with them. And so I was just like, okay, I need to figure out a way to get through this. And so I kind of meditated on them a couple times to like, you know, make our interactions better for me, you know. And then with each of these people, I ended up like partnering with them on a project, and they were like the last people that I was expecting to have to work with. But it happened, and I was like, okay, I did this to myself, you know. But so that's something that is very real. And then I also have had meditations where I sort of have a dialogue with my spirit guide. So you can do like visual, like where you kind of create a visual of what that looks like. And I've had moments where I like literally felt them kind of sitting in front of me and like talking to me while I'm meditating, you know?
Yeah. Those are some trippy moments.
Yeah, it's very, very trippy. Yeah, so like I'm wanting to explore like more different ways to meditate.
What people don't know is, this will be the last thing, what people don't know is that before we come into the lives that we come into, we all sign soul contracts with everyone that we encounter. So, you know, we meant to meet and interact with these people because, you know, every relationship that we have is the classroom to the relationship, to build that better relationship that we have with ourselves. I do the regular meditation where you sit, you calm yourself. I try to practice my breathing more just because when I was younger, you remember I had really bad asthma issues. So deep breathing was one of the ways that in high school that I took on to better my breathing capability. I like the regular meditation only because when I close my eyes, I start to see colors and I start to see images, and sometimes, depending on what's the energy, I see really dark images, and so the longer I start to meditate, the images change into something else. But I know for me, when I meditate, I normally see like these orbs of light doing that symbol within my head.
Thanks for confirming for me that I'm not tripping.
But yeah, I see it.
Went through the same thing.
And then I like music meditation, like just like sitting, listening to music, because I'm very aware of the vibrational energies that you get when you listen to music. So that I do the guided meditations as well. I do the spell. When you was talking about the meditation for people in your life, I do spells. You was talking about that before you got on the call. But yeah, I do spells. I just did a spell. Either yesterday or the day before. But yeah, so I do any form of meditation. We're in the last, I want to say 7-8 minutes of the show. Any final quotes before we head off for tonight?
I think I love that Ivy Park snapback. I have been looking at it the entire meeting, and I've been waiting for the moment to congratulate you on it. But yeah, that's really all I have to say. This has been great, and I will be watching Black is King a few more times and analyzing it on my own. So yeah.
Oh, thank you. And also, I just want to say too, like I really enjoyed having this discussion because like I saw yesterday was probably like my 8th time watching Black is King, and it's like no one has watched it as in depth as I have. Like I remember yesterday, like my mom came in here and she was just like, she thought it was like just one big fashion show, and I was like, no, that wasn't it. Like you gotta look past that. You gotta look past the fashion. You gotta like listen to what's going on. Like it was like a storyline, and so it was just nice to kind of like. It was just so many good like things that like said today that made me like think, and I was like, okay, never thought about it from that perspective. So I really do appreciate the conversation because I've been wanting to talk about this and kind of have like this type of dialogue involving Black is King, and it was really great. I really enjoyed it, and it really like offers like so much stuff. Like once I get out of here, that I want to search and just use. I really enjoyed those resources as well. So thank you all for that.
Yeah, it was amazing. It's an amazing experience to just talk about things and just learn things from other people, different perspectives. It's so weird because it goes like how we take in information all the time, and our minds just shift all the time. Our perspectives is crazy. So I really did enjoy listening to everyone and listening to everyone and how they took this art, especially when it comes to art, because it is subjective. So you see everyone takes it in differently. So just to see how they took in the visuals, how you guys took in the visuals was actually very interesting. And, you know, I hope this also just makes people, you know, view art differently. View videography, cinematography, photography, even though there wasn't any photography, but, you know, just view it differently, any visuals differently, and how art has impact on societies. And, you know, we live art, and so it's, you know, nice that we're having conversations about this, because we're able to take art and actually discuss something that's real, that's going on, something between us. So I just hope, you know, everyone, they actually have a little bit more respect towards what people put out. You know, even some art can just mean exactly what it is, and some can be a different meaning, but just the power that it has is beautiful to me. So
I was just gonna say thank you, thank you for having us and wanting to hear our voices. This was definitely like a push for me to speak out. You know, that's something I've been struggling with, and that I'm working on. But like, I definitely want to thank you for like providing the space for us to do that. Yeah, and you are definitely onto something, Marshawn. I just want you to know, like, you are exactly where you need to be, and I fully support it. I hope that this grows into more, and yeah, I would love to be hosted again.
Thank you.
You mentioned how, like, you had to go through what you went through in order to really tap into your potential and really go down the path that you're destined for, that you wrote yourself. But I feel like a lot of people are experiencing that right now, just for like a little reassurance, especially since you're discovering these new gifts that you have. I think people who are like you, who have these gifts, and they know intuitively that they're very powerful, but they don't know how to tap into it. I feel like a lot of people are experiencing that right now. And just for a little reassurance, I feel like some of the most powerful, intuitive, empathetic people struggle the most with their potential, with their potentiality and materializing it. And because, especially if you don't have any elders around you or any older forces around you really encouraging you and guiding you and really teaching you, that it gets hard. It definitely gets hard to tap into your potential. And everything, I agree with you, everything that you had to go through, you had to go through. Like, divine timing is it's a bitch, but it's a beautiful thing, I think, at the end of the day. So
that was one of the reasons I created this podcast, is for people to be able to come and connect deeper within themselves and their own spiritual journey. Because I can remember, I'm not gonna get too much information, but basically, so I got my certification my junior year of high school. So I got my certification. I was the youngest person to complete their certification through the establishment that I had got it through. And so me and the lady, we were in talks of creating like a digital thing to help young people get the tools to get their best selves, life, etc. It was literally in Indianapolis, and I was like, let me put this together. Like, I've been thinking about it, and then Spirit told me, like, Marshawn, this is what you need to do. This is your calling. And so I created this, and yeah, so definitely for anyone who wants to start on their spiritual journey, I would say trust your intuition, but also journal, vision boards, really, what's the word for it? Words cast spells. So anything that you say, be mindful of everything that you say, because I started to realize that whatever I said into the universe, it created the energy to manifest itself. So really trusting your intuition and trusting the spirit and the saying that you hear in the back of your mind, because you're not crazy. It's spirit just trying to talk to you, get you to get to your best potential. I love that you all were able to lend your voices to this, and I'm grateful that we did have this conversation. And I'm grateful that you all were able to be a part of the first panel of Frenchafullcircle guests on my show. Another resource too. There's a book about a Sudanese man. He tells I'll give the name of the book when I put the show out for viewing, but there's a book about a Sudanese man, and he talks about his journey from Sudan to America before they separated into two different countries. I will give that when I can find it. And then there's a movie, if anyone wants to learn about Lumumba, there's a movie about him as well, and I will try to find a link to that as well. But like I said, we're in the last 2 minutes. I just want to thank all my guests again for coming on the show, being a part of this experience. I want to thank the audience members who were lending their comments, speaking, and engaging with us. I am grateful to each and every one of you for choosing to do this with me. And like I said, being a part of the first panel of guests for my show and this podcast, because my goal is to be able to, help people think, cause thought in us and be open to not being right, but also learning new things and making us better individuals. So I just want to thank everyone again. We are in the last minute, so this is the end. I hope everyone has a good night. And yes, I will see you all. I will converse with you all in the group chat to debrief. And yeah, thank you all again. Have a good night, everyone.